Where I can get them, I'm gonna get them. She has all the company she needs in her serial killer books. Is she me? This was a totally random find. You know what I should do? I should do a test order before I pre-order, just to be sure that this is a good decision. I haven't really talked about this on here. Get it, girl. So, hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse, and welcome to a bit of like a small book haul, not like it is, and a small pre-order haul. So this is all about books that I got at Blackwell's. Not sponsored, just sharing some info because as many of you felt when we all heard the Book Depository was closing, it was like, for those of us who don't live in the UK, how am I going to get my UK covers? Because I must have the books that I want to have. So apparently I've been living under a rock and I didn't realize that Blackwell's existed. So Blackwell's is a smaller company. They were founded in 1846. I did a little research, and they have 30 shops and a huge online presence where there's just tons and tons and tons of books. So if you are hyper obsessive like me, or are just looking for a good deal, or are just looking for maybe a different cover, or are a collector of many, many books, then this might be a place for you to peruse. So I had, if you guys watched my pre-order video from like months ago, I had pre-ordered a ton of books from Book Depository because I like my UK cover. Some of the books had better prices, and obviously all of that got canceled when they closed. So I shifted my pre-orders over to Blackwell's, but I also thought, you know what I should do? I should do a test order before I pre-order, just to be sure that this is a good decision. So that's what I did. So first up, we're gonna look into a couple of the books that I bought, and then I'm gonna go through my pre-orders because there have been some changes. Okay, so these are not really in the order that I bought them in, they're just in the order they are stacked in front of me. But what I wound up doing is taking my Book Depository wish list and kind of shifting it over to Blackwell's. And what I always do when I book shop is I will cost compare across all the websites. And particularly if I'm looking for like a UK cover of a book. But you guys know me, I shop thrifted books, I will go to library sales, I will buy online retailers, I will buy in-store retailers, I will do bookshop.org. So I am, I don't discriminate where I buy my books. Where I can get them, I'm gonna get them. So anyway, I had some, whatever, it doesn't even matter. The first book I got is The Girl with a Clock for a Heart by Peter Swanson. This is his debut novel. This is the only book of his that I didn't own. And if you guys have been around here lately, then you know that I have caught up on a bunch of his books. So I recently read Every Vow You Break. I reread The Kind Worth Killing. I read The Kind Worth Saving. And I always say the name of it wrong. And I read All the Beautiful Lies. I keep mixing that and All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham up in my head. But anyway, so I haven't read this one yet. I've read two of the books in front of me. So this is the first book he wrote, like I said, and it says, what if your college sweetheart, the girl of your dreams, suddenly disappeared? 20 years later, she's back, she's in trouble, and she says you're the only one who can help her. So you guys know, he's kind of my everything. I absolutely love his books. I love how dark and messed up they are. I really love this cover. I have a picture that I took when I was on vacation years ago that reminds me of this, where like you're inside looking out through the window and you can see the reverse, like here it's the bar. Let me try and get it to focus. And it just reminds me of a photo that I took years ago when we were inside a restaurant and I took it looking out, and that's just me being me. But anyway, I'm very excited. I only have 2 of his books left to read, and this is one of them. Yay, fun. The second book, which I'm super excited about, this is The Kind to Kill by Tessa Wiegert. So this is the 4th book in her Shana Merchant series. I have the first 3. I've read the first 2, gearing up to read the 3rd. And one of the things that I found sort of surprisingly is that books here, oh, and look, it has the regular, I haven't even looked at that yet. Books, you can get a US book there for less. I don't even know. This book was like $14 for the hardcover, and it's like $27 or $28 here. So this was just a little bit of a fluke. I always look for books and authors that I love just to see if they have a different cover. This was a totally random find. I am not at all upset about it. But like I said, book 4 in the Shana Merchant series, so I'm not going to tell you what it's about, and I'm not even going to look what it's about because I haven't read book 3 yet. But Shana Merchant was an NYPD detective. In the first book, we meet her a year after she has left New York City. She's living in upstate New York. She has joined a small town police force. She moved up there with her fiance, and her partner get called to a missing person scene on an island, a very bloody missing person scene. And then thanks to a nor'easter, they wind up getting trapped on the island with this super rich family, one of the members of who, a member of that family is the one who's missing. So I really, really enjoyed it. I read book 2, I want to say like a month or so ago. So I'm excited to continue in the series. And I've heard that this only gets better as it goes. So I'm really excited about that. How fun. Another of my favorite authors. I had my eye on this book for a while, and I finally decided to get it in the I am both a reader and a collector. It's the giant UK paperback of Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. So again, if you guys have been here for a minute, you know this is one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it twice. I totally love it. It was the first Jennifer Hillier I ever read. This is as dark and messed up as it can get, and in a total sidebar story. So you know how you like make choices and then after the fact you're like, maybe that wasn't my best choice ever. So I haven't really talked about this on here, but I started a new job a couple of months ago, and my boss is very well aware of my love of books and writing and that corner of my universe. And he had asked me for some book recommendations kind of early on. And I was like, well, like where do we want to go with this? And he was telling me some authors that he really enjoys, and like we share a mutual love for the TV show The Killing. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give you some of my faves. So I talked about Riley Sager, I talked about Peter Swanson, and I talked about Jennifer Hillier. And I was describing the books, and I recommended Jar of Hearts. And I was like, this is as dark and messed up as she gets. So this could go one of two ways. And he wound up buying it. And then I was like, man, I kind of feel like you're not going to look at me the same way after you read this book. Happy ending to the story. He finished the book. He absolutely loved it. He thanked me for the recommendation, but we did have a talk about like, this could have gone real weird where he started to read this book and been like, who did I just hire? So maybe get to know people. It's a good barometer. So I just told him, and I said, I always joke that like when I recommend this book to people, depending on their feelings on it, I can tell if like they're my person or not. So he's definitely my kind of person. So in this book, we are following a woman named Geo. I stumble over how to describe this book every single time. It is dual timelines. We are meeting Geo on page 1. She's like 30 years old, and she is being arrested for her part in the disappearance of her best friend from high school, a girl named Angela. So Angela and Geo and a guy named Kaiser Brody were the best of friends in high school, and we are meeting Geo and Kaiser in the present, and then we are seeing what happened in the past. And it is dark and messed up. It is serial killers. It is twisty. It is like keeping you on your toes. It made me super uncomfortable at some parts, and I loved every moment of it. And it's still my favorite Jennifer Hillier book. I've read them all, and I highly recommend it. So we've got that one. Now for a book that I haven't read. So I had my eye on this book for a while, and again, did a little cross-reference research and decided to pick it up in the UK. This is Death of a Bookseller, and this is by Alice Slater. So love this lime green color. Can we just, with the end pages, which I didn't even know existed until it came. Words. It says, she, the devil, I thought, taking one last glance at the oozing shards of snail shell. I don't know what it means. I will find out when I read the book. The UK has cornered the market on how to create a beautiful book. And then I'm sure it's going to be amazing when I read it. So in this one, it says, would you kill for a good story? Roach, bookseller, loner, and true crime fanatic, has no interest in making friends. She has all the company she needs in her serial killer books. Is she me? She has all the company she needs in her serial killer books, murder podcasts, and her pet snail, Bleep. That is until Laura joins the bookshop. With her cute literary tote bags and sunny smile, she's everyone's favorite bookseller. But beneath the shiny veneer, Roach senses a darkness within Laura, the same darkness Roach possesses. And as curiosity blooms into morbid obsession, Roach becomes determined to be part of Laura's story, whether Laura wants her in it or not. So the little blurb says, deliciously dark, unsettling, and utterly addictive. A roller coaster of suspense that will make your skin crawl and your heart pound. It just really grabbed my attention with just the title of it. And then I read a little bit more about it, and it seemed perfect. So Alice Slater, the author, spent 6 years working as a bookseller at Waterstones. I love it, I love it, I love it. And she's now a London-based writer and a co-host of the literary podcast, What Page Are You On? So stay tuned. This one came out pretty recently here and there, so I picked that one up. And then the last one I physically have is Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I did read this in April, so I did review it already on my channel. I listened to the audiobook of it, Queen Julia Whalen, because I had an ALC from Libro FM, but I was going to buy the book anyway, and it was just sort of a fluke that I wound up getting that ALC. So I absolutely loved this. I need to go back in and tab it all up and, you know, flag all my meaningful passages. I just love Emily Henry so much. So this book follows a group of best friends, and most of them met in college, and then you have one of the girls who is like a newer-ish to the group. She's dating one of the other women in the group. And in this one, Harriet and Wynne were always the perfect couple, and they have been engaged for a long time. They have been kind of the cornerstone of the group in that way. And unbeknownst to the other 4 people in the group, Harriet and Wynne actually broke up a few months ago. They just haven't told anybody yet because they kind of don't want to disrupt the group, and they kind of just don't want to deal with it. But they'd been living long distance. Their lives just weren't meshing, even though they've been together for like 10 years. So they all wind up back at this cabin in Maine, which is where they've spent all of these memorable summers, and Harriet and Wynne agree to just kind of fake date for the week to get through because they don't want to ruin everybody's what turns out to be last summer at this house because Sabrina's father, who owns the house, is going to sell it. So this is definitely their last hurrah at the house. So we get past and present timelines in this. I really connected with multiple characters. I think there's a really interesting exploration, not just of the relationship between Harriet and Wynne, but the relationships with people that you met in college, how you change over time, sort of obligations you feel to certain people. I think the feeling of like wanting to hold on to the past, figuring out how to move forward, trying to like maintain that same feeling that you used to have, but there were different elements of different characters that I really connected to. There's always a level of weightiness to this. There is just such beautiful connections between these friends. There's a lot of levity. There's a lot of laughter in this. There's a smidge of steam, and I just loved everything about it. So very happy to have it to add to my Emily Henry shelf. Not that I have a dedicated shelf, but you know what I mean, to add to my other Emily Henry books. And then let's get into some pre-orders that I got. Okay, I'm going to talk about these in publication order. So the first book I have is Yellowface by Rf Quang. This one comes out May 25th in the UK. So I talked about this in my most anticipated books of May, and this follows 2 writers. This definitely has like a similar vibe to the plot, To Kill Your Darlings by David Bell, The Plot by Jean Hanff Korelitz, where we have 2 authors, and one of the authors winds up publishing the manuscript of the other one as her own. But in this one, we have a white author publishing an Asian American's manuscript as her own, and it becomes quite the hit, but obviously it is not her story. So I don't know where this one's going to go, but I think it's going to be very interesting. I've heard great things about it. Obviously, it's going to delve into the publishing industry, into diversity, into racism, into the complications of the publishing industry, and I think it's just going to be great. I think it also kind of has, I don't know if it's like thrillery horror like the other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris, which I also really enjoyed, which is also set in the publishing industry. So we'll see. But I've had this on my radar for a while, and it should be coming in a couple of weeks. So that's exciting. The next book I have is A Game of Lies by Claire McIntosh. This is coming out July 20th. This is the second book in the Fionn Morgan series. So The Last Party which was the one I read on New Year's Day on purpose because it is a book that opens on New Year's Day, where after a party in town, somebody is found murdered. And we wind up getting an investigation. And in that one, so Fionn is living in Wales, and then the sort of cottage lakeside home where all the rich and fancy people, it's like a lakeside cottage community is. The river kind of is on the border between Wales and England, and the body is found in the water. So we have detectives from both sides coming in to try and figure out what happened. So you get police investigation, you get small town vibes. There's some great wit and humor to that book, which I very much enjoyed. I was a huge fan of Fionn, and I'm excited to see what she does next. So the second book is coming out, which I'm excited for. Then we have A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. This is coming out August 17th, 2023 in the UK. I believe it comes out sooner in the US. I will have all this information down below for you guys. But I also have the e-arc of this one, which I'm gonna dig myself into because I'm very excited for some more Samantha Downing. And let me tell you a little bit what it's about. So in this one, it is about Wes and Ivy. They are madly in love. They've never felt anything like it. It is the type of romance people write stories about. And it says, but what kind of stories? Like when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's really, really bad. But their vicious cycle of catastrophic breakups and head over heels reconciliations needs to end fast because suddenly Wes and Ivy have a common enemy, and she's a detective. There's something Wes and Ivy never talk about in good times or bad. The night of their worst breakup, when one of them took things too far and someone ended up dead. So now there is a police investigation. They have to come together, and despite when it's bad, they have to work together to make sure, obviously, whatever it is they did doesn't get found out. So very excited for this one. I'm such a huge fan of Samantha Downing. So I read My Lovely Wife and I read He Started It. I intentionally didn't read For Your Own Good last year because I knew she wasn't having a new book coming out last year. And then I've referenced this before on the channel. It was on my Dark Academia TBR, of which we all know tanked my Dark Academia reading plans of last year. So I need to read that one as well. So very excited to have 2 Samantha Downing books on my non-TBR TBR. And then the last book I have is an upcoming Peter Swanson book. This one's called The Christmas Guest. And in this one, this is more of a novella, which I'm totally down for. This one comes out the end of September 28th. I think it comes out in October in the US. Again, all of it will be down below. So this one says, "'Tis the season to be wary." When Ashley Smith, a bright-eyed but lonely American studying in London, is invited to spend Christmas with her classmates' family at their Cotswolds manor house, it seems like the perfect country estate, idyllic, all the great things. And for Ashley, who records it all in her diary, there's the added romantic potential of her friend's twin brother, Adam, who she thinks could be her wildest dream come true. Get it, girl. But is there something strange about the old house, both stately and run down? What could the motives of the mysterious Chapman family be? And what holiday horrors might be lying in wait? We'll find out. We'll find out. So I just, I mentioned it like 10 minutes ago. Huge, massive fan. I will read anything that he writes. He's an autobiography author of mine, and I'm very excited for that book. So I feel like I'm writing a book report. In conclusion, I, again, not sponsored, but wholly endorse shopping at Blackwell's. I'm just very excited because, again, sometimes it's a UK cover, sometimes there's better pricing. Check out their website for all the details if you guys are interested. But speaking at least for the US, like the shipping cost is built in, which helps because I do love me a Waterstones book, but it's very cost prohibitive to send it here. So someday maybe I'll make my way back over that way and we'll shop in person. But for now, this is definitely keeping me entertained, and I have learned, this is the first year I've like really leaned into pre-orders. It's so fun, especially when you're pre-ordering stuff far out. I've pre-ordered books that come out like now through October, and not that you forget, or I don't forget, but at the same time, like you get a shipping notice and I'm just like, ooh, it's like my birthday. Like stuff's just showing up all the time, and I love everything about it. So there you go. So mini Blackwell's book haul. There you have it. I will keep you posted on the books as I read them, and obviously future hauls will obviously have any books that I haul. So until next time, let me know, you guys, has anybody shopped there? Have you found other places to find your UK covers? Are you totally not obsessed the way that I am? Which is all totally good. If you picked up any books lately. Anyway, anything you guys want to let me know, that's amazing. And then thank you guys, of course, for being here, for hanging out, for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video really soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.